splinter in your mind. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. Like a splinter in your mind.
I'm not quite sure whether I should be laughing at this or crying, to be honest. I've been put in the direction of a number of web pages which have blog posts on the subjects of GodSpousing, namely getting involved in some kind of formal, holy relationship with your higher power of choice. Obviously, this is not a new idea. Isn't it the nuns who actually wear, wedding rings to signify, the engagement period, the engagement to Christ, and then, of course, marriage to Christ? And I saw a documentary a while ago about some young girl who took it a bit too seriously and got a bit too hormonal in front of the stained glass of a Jesus Christ, if you get my drift. And all the fine details weren't mentioned too much on the documentary, just in case they showed it before the watershed, but I'm pretty sure it would have got a little bit on the sticky side, and personally speaking, I find that a bit odd. Now, everyone out there in the world has got some things they like and some things they don't like, and some things they feel drawn to, and some forms of fashion that they personally think works well with them, or indeed a deep-seated identity that they feel they have to dress a certain way or have to think a certain way. So a form of thinking about theological or religious ideas in a different way and possibly engaging in some kind of, the idea of like being in unity with a higher power concept, it's not really too unusual, you might say. But don't you think that the behavior actually could raise some questions rather than necessarily provide some answers? I mean, for some people it could be allegorical. It could be a question of almost like a form of worship or aspiring to be something bigger and better. But don't you also have to take into account the character and personality of this alleged higher power being that you are building the connection with? There's a few posts here of it being Loki or Satan and other forms of not necessarily very nice people, depending, of course, on your perspective. Obviously, I don't want to tread upon too many toes here. And what if, once you've officially married your divine being, what happens if you then chose to marry another divine being, and how would that sit well with your own subconscious mind when you start developing a religiosity? It's like your mind, your being, your identity kind of like goes in line with that way of thinking. When something comes along which kind of like upsets that way of thinking, it can create, if not trauma, then a very uncomfortable feeling. I mean, is it actually permitted in, let's say, Loki and GodSpousing to also marry other forms of divine being? Can you have many husbands and wives of the same or different gender, or indeed of a different species? And precisely why would you want to do that? And also, what happens if you then chose to marry a human being? How would you be able to afford to balance the time between the relationship you've now built with, or whoever, and also, the human being that you've actually built an adult grown-up relationship with? I think it's a very strange fad, personally. If you feel comfortable with it, then fine. If you don't feel comfortable with it, then fine. But I personally think it's a little... It's not... If it makes you happy, yeah.